What's up, y'all? This is the Coach Prunty podcast. I got a big time guy on today. He's somebody I was watching when this whole conflict started, and he first started putting videos out about it. And go ahead and tell him your name on YouTube.
I'm Rocky Mountain Oyster Sauce. My name is Chris, and I go by Rocky Mountain Oyster Sauce by default. I started a company a while back, and I named it, and the name never took on. But I had a stupid account called Rocky Mountain Oyster Sauce, and everybody just thought that was hilarious, and everybody could remember the name. They all knew, what about that account? It was his Instagram account. That ain't even got a couple videos on it, but everybody just loved the name. So I said, I guess the people have chosen. I gotta stick with that name. So Rocky Mountain Oyster Sauce. I live in the Rocky Mountains, and I think I like it.
Right. Now, we'll start off slow for people that since this is the first time we're discussing this. And your thoughts. How do you feel that Russia is doing in this conflict? How successful do you think they have been so far? I guess I would say.
Successful. They have destroyed the country. The country they've caused probably I don't know probably trillions of dollars worth of damage. It would probably be somewhere close to that. I'm not sure of the GDP of Ukraine, but it's going to be up there because we're not even talking about GDP. We're talking about physical structures. We're talking about buildings and skyscrapers. GDP is one thing. You calculate that. That's one thing. We're talking about the land. The land is destroyed. You know what I mean? I don't know what their objective is, right? It seems to be pivoting to the Donbass, which is what I thought they were going to do from the beginning, was just to take that little strip of land, because they could have done it with minimal amount of loss, minimal amount of sanctions, but Putin did like a blitzkrieg. They attacked something like 60 sites in the first night, in the first 24 hours. And anybody who knows anything about warfare knows you don't. That is so many fronts. I mean, they really started on 3 fronts, but they attacked so much, the shock and awe. There was so much at the same time. Okay, put it this way. It's illegal to talk about how much of losses the Ukrainians have taken. So we don't know how much losses the Ukrainians have taken. There are estimates that have come out, and it's bad. Like 30% of their Air Force, maybe in the first 48 hours or something like that. Ukraine's hurt, put it that way. Ukraine's hurt, but they are making the Russians pay severely. But I'm not going to lie, the Ukrainians cannot win. Okay, I'm just going to tell it to you like this. The Ukrainians can't win this war conventionally, and the West has no interest. Us, United States, in realpolitik terms, has no interest in this war ending swiftly. We don't want it to. We want to deplete Russia. We want to destroy Russia's military. That's why we are providing weapons so everything can be destroyed. They can fight back enough to destroy everything and destroy Russia's military. We right now are able to pay money to destroy our enemy's military. Who wouldn't do that? If you was a gang leader and you could just make it rain, I ain't got to do nothing. I'll make it rain. That's all we're doing, homie. What they just asked for another $30 billion and nobody bats an eye. Republicans and Democrats are going for it because we're paying money to destroy the enemy at the cost of Ukrainian lives.
Now, where do you see this ending, or do you see this ending anytime soon? Like how? Go ahead.
This is right now what we have is called a stalemate, but a stalemate in geopolitical terms, in warfare terms, isn't a good thing. It just means that neither one of us can win, and we just keep killing each other. So that's where we're at right now. Nobody can win. There's too many people in Ukraine. Russia's army's taxed. It's not taxed to the limit or anything like that. They've got plenty of reserves, but no military force is ever at 100% operational. There's always tanks and shit that are out of business and they're not doing well. And they, you know what I mean? They need repairs or da 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 da. Like a well-armed military is at like, 70% readiness, 80% readiness of their stuff, like a good modern military. Russia's not that. We've seen a $13 million Pantsir abandoned in the mud. This is an anti-aircraft system. They abandoned it because the tires were rotten. Because you know what happens whenever you let your tires sit for 18 months, 2 years in the sun, and you don't move them and don't rotate them. That's what they did with the $13 million anti-aircraft weapon, right? So it seems like we know. I was in jail one time with a man from Russia, and this was what he described to me. He said, in Russia, we go work, and sometimes we get paid, and sometimes we don't. And the reason sometimes we don't is because the people who own everything are connected, like mob connected. And if they just tell you, hey, we don't got no money, we're out of money, he goes, there's nothing I can do. I can't do nothing. He goes, what am I going to do? It's literally like the mob. He goes, I can't punch him. I can't do nothing. He goes, I've been stiff several times. Just, you know what I mean? So that runs all the way up. That doesn't stop, right? So the corruption is eating at Russia, and it's showing cracks. It's showing cracks in their system. It's showing Russia has a GDP the size of Texas. Okay, and then on top of that, they are communist, not so much anymore, but they have these aspects of them. And quiet as it's kept, you talk about like China, the modern day iterations of communism, they pay more to watch their own people. China spends more to oppress its own people than it does on its military to fight us. The internal security state is bigger than the external security. So this is China, or this is communism. This is the paranoia that is inherent in communism. And it's not as bad in Russia. It's not that bad, but we've been choking them for so long. You understand? We've been choking them so bad. Just imagine, remember the 3G phone?
Mm-hmm.
Remember how the world was back then?
Yeah.
That's where Russia's at now.
Wow.
And Russia's there because we don't allow anybody to sell them advanced chips. We control the chips. And this is what's in Taiwan. And that's why 85%, don't quote me on that, but it's between 80 and 90% of the world's microprocessors come from one island, Taiwan, the island of Formosa, Taiwan. Okay. This is why China wants it. Whoever controls that island, you can control the world. If you a villain, if you're about that and you trying to control the world, you take Taiwan. So watch for that. That's the next target. Because why wouldn't they?
So all right, we'll get to Taiwan. This is such a big, it's just a lot to discuss at one. Okay, so we're gonna get to Taiwan. Big deal right now is I hear a lot of people saying, well, Russia invaded to denazify Ukraine. On the other side, I hear people saying, what do you mean? Everybody has their radicals. So where do you fit in this? Are you more pro-Russian propaganda? Because it's all propaganda. I mean, the truth is somewhere. Yeah.
No, I am pro people not invading other people's countries. And that doesn't matter if it was the other way, it would be the other way. I'd be pro-Russian. You don't invade other people's countries. Okay, the truth, this is the honest to God truth of the Nazi, the all the way up and down. And you mentioned how how you said you felt that I was very middle of the road. And there's a reason why. And it's because I did so long in prison that I sat next to people who had swastikas tattooed on them, or they had black power and black fists, and you get to learn that these are people too. They're people too. And whenever somebody pull you out of the fire, or whenever the dude with the black fist and the dreadlocks tell you, hey, the fucking pigs is coming, and he gets you out of something, you learn that people are people, and that's it. You know what I mean? And so in 2014, Russia invaded Crimea in the Donbass. There was a volunteer force of radicals, basically just the men. They were there in southern Ukraine, and they're right wingers, hardcore Ukrainian nationalists, and they stepped up and they volunteered, and they said, well, these are just regular people, just men, steel workers, things of this nature. They stepped up and they said, we'll fight, we'll volunteer. And they front line, they put them on the front line, gave them guns, and they put them on the front line. And they fought extremely valiantly. And they were able to push the Russians back. And when the dust settled, these people were living on the front lines of Ukraine. These are the people who live in the Donbass, the Ukrainians who live in the Donbass. So the radicals are pushed right up on the front line of the Donbass against the Russians that hate them, right? So now you've got Ukraine in the situation. What are we gonna do? Oh, those are Nazis. What? Those dudes just died for you. Their families just died for you. You know what I mean? What are you gonna do? You're gonna turn your back on them? No. They earned that. So what are you gonna do now? Now, one of the mistakes they did make, that I'm not gonna lie, is they then take these people. These are called the Azov. They started as what they called the Azov Battalion. Then it became several different entities that is now called the Azov Regiment, which describes several different entities. They self-admittedly are somewhere, I've heard estimates from 10 to 30% are admitted. They are not white supremacists because they hate Russians. They are Ukrainian supremacists. That's why people say, well, Zelensky's a Jew. They don't care about Jews. These people hate Russians. That's it. Now they are Nazis. They took the I think it's called the Archangel, but forgive me if that's wrong. It's a Nazi symbol, and they kind of turned it on its side, and but they're about this. But there's not a lot of minorities for them to be persecuting down there. They do give the Russians the business. They do bother the Russians, you know what I mean? The ethnic Russians there. There's some video you can find if you really want to find something. Actually, a couple of days ago was the anniversary, May 2nd, 2014. If you want to go look up the city of Odessa, the burning in the city of Odessa, where the right wingers came out, there was a bunch of Russian protesters out gathering, they were gathering signatures. And you can find this on the Redacted podcast. And so he just did a memorial on it because it was the anniversary. And so the Russians were there. They were having a protest trying to gather some signatures, right? In Odessa, just trying to do normal protest type stuff. And a bunch of these right wingers or Ukrainian nationalists, whoever it was, a bunch of Ukrainians came out of left field, start beating the hell out of people, start burning stuff down. They run them up in this building. It's like I don't know if it's a parliament building. It kind of looks like a library or a parliament building. And then you can find pictures. They set it on fire. They run them up into the building, and there's pictures with the cops. The chief of police got fired because of this. You can see a picture. Dude took a perfect picture. You can see the cops right here. And then right above them, you can see a woman standing, and she's out on the ledge trying to get away from the smoke. She's dying, a Russian woman. And you could see it. You could see it. And then there's all the Ukrainian protesters outside. They basically rounded all these Russians up. They hoarded them into this building and then lit the building on fire. Right? Like a couple hundred people died. So they couldn't cover it up. The White House got flack about it, you know, but the internet wasn't what it was back then, you know, where now the White House gets flack and it goes crazy. Everything goes crazy. Wasn't like that. You get it in the news for a couple of days and the news told you how to feel about it and then you moved on. But okay. In 2014, the United States backed a coup in Ukraine. It was probably the best thing to do because the dude before that was backed by Russia. So it is what it is. But during the interim between 2014 and 2016, whenever all the dust settled, because whenever things are going on, regime change, bad things happen, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of war crimes were committed. The UNHCR, UN High Council on Refugees, I believe, has a report on it. There's a couple governmental reports on it. The United Nations did a couple reports on it. They did some bad stuff to some people, torture, you know what I mean? Things of this nature. So, and this is what we got to remember, is that these are all the same people. Okay, Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, they do have their certain phenotypes, and they look a little different from each other, but culturally, these are the same people. They have the same type of secret services. They torture people. They kidnap journalists. All of them, this whole area. Some of them do it better than others. Some of them do it worse. But this is kind of what they do. So it's they're all just as guilty as each other. I just really look at it as Russia as the aggressor.
So when you look at it from what you're saying, yes, Ukraine has a quote unquote Nazi problem, but it's way blown out of proportion and is used as a scapegoat by Putin to invade. So that was okay.
It's 100% a scapegoat. It's 100% nonsense. This is, hey, if you want to, on some high level geopolitical stuff, the Heartland Theory, what they call the Heartland Theory, which is from a man called Alfred Mackinder. Alfred Mackinder was a geologist, geographer, and a geostrategist. I believe he was English. Don't hold me to the cross on that. I believe he was English. And he came up with what he called the Heartland Theory. And I don't know the Heartland Theory backward and forward, but I know enough of it to know that this is the basics of it. Imagine if you took a map of the earth and just put it out on the table, and imagine that everything was a lot smaller than you thought it was. Well, Alfred Mackinder believed that whoever controlled the chunk of land that is Russia, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, all of this, he called this the world island. And he said, if you look at it, there's more land than anything right there. He said, well, whoever controls the land controls the rim land, what he called the rim land. And this is where everybody else lives, the people who live around it, like the Western Europeans, England, And it was a way to control the world. He looked at it as a way to control the world. Well, I don't know the theory backward and forward, but I know it's shaped Russian geopolitics big time, because they believe that they are at the center of the Heartland Theory. They believe they are. It describes a way to take over the world, and what it's called. And if whoever controls the Heartland, imagine it like a fortress. Mm-hmm. They believe Russia is a fortress where they can dominate the world from. Because this was Alfred Mackinder's theory. He said that he basically, it was a warning to the English. He was an Englishman. He was hired by the English, and it was a warning. And he said, we need to control the interior of Eurasia, is basically what he was saying. Germany, he's saying the only person that's ever going to be able to control the world because of natural boundaries. He was a geographer. He's like, America really isn't going to be able to do it because of logistics across the ocean. Can America really control the whole world? You know what I mean? It's hard to control things on the other side of the planet. It gets really hard real quick. Where could you actually control the planet from? Well, if you can control that whole landmass, China, Russia, all the way over into Europe, if you can take Europe, if they can push through Europe and take Europe and then come down, because Africa can't really defend itself, not against a modern military. You can just take Africa. They can take Africa like that. If Russia can take Europe, they can take Africa like that. And then you also want to look at the mountains, the mountainous ranges that run through Ukraine. And if they can push through the Donbass, they can make their exposed flank from about 2,000 kilometers to like 700 kilometers. So it makes, what Putin is doing makes absolute perfect sense from any geostrategic standpoint. This is absolutely the right move. No questions asked. The United States has shown no willingness to try to ease really anything until Joe Biden came along, and he did it horribly. He's rolled everything out. I mean, I'm not even going to go into that, but
well, I'm gonna say this. So when we discuss this thing, a lot of people want to know. Let's just go best case scenario for each army. All right, for Ukraine, what would be a victory for Ukraine, and what will be a victory for Russia? Now, I'm asking the Russian part with this caveat. Isn't it true that Sweden and Finland are trying to join NATO, correct? If Russia does win in Ukraine, that would still be NATO members on their borders, right?
Yes.
So can Russia even win this war? Like, did they do more damage to themselves than help themselves? Or what do you think about that?
That is yet to be seen. If Russia can split Ukraine in two, Ukraine is a very prosperous country. It's very corrupt, and the corruption keeps it from being extremely prosperous, but it is a real breadbasket. It produces a lot. It's very, very fertile. He did hurt himself, yes. I'll tell you this, the Russian ruble is gaining power every day. Every day.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure why. I watch this channel. It's a Russian propaganda channel. They have their reasons why. I don't know a whole lot about the monetary system. I don't know if they're telling the truth. You know what I mean? Their reasons why are, the Americans are stupid. You know what I mean? And they screwed up and you screwed the pooch. And so now the tables are turning. I doubt that's exactly what it is. I don't know enough about currency manipulation to know exactly what it does, but I know that it's made a hell of a bounce back. It's not hurting like it was. I know that everybody's still buying oil from Russia. All these people that are lying, I'm getting reports, and this is not confirmed. This is also from the Russian propaganda channel. So take this with a grain of salt, but I'm getting reports that ships are leaving Russian ports with no destination on the manifest, and they leave. And if I get any naval terminology wrong, please don't hang me. I don't know anything about the Navy or ships or anything like that. But I believe it's called a manifest. So they fill up with oil, and then they come back, however much longer, but they're not taking trips. They're going out into the sea and offloading it to other ships. And now there's these ships coming across with these weird blends. There's new blends of oil all of a sudden on the market, like the Lithuanian blend or something like that. And then if you read the fine print, this is what they did. They're marketing new types of oil as different brands from different countries. But then whenever you read the fine print, it says may contain up to 50% of Russian oil. So almost everybody is still buying Russian oil. The United States said no, but we barely get any of our oil from Russia. And that's the thing is as soon as well, everybody said, okay, India and Russia have this thing that goes back a long time where they don't muck with each other, period. You don't get involved in ours, we don't get involved in yours, and we do good business, and that's it. So whenever everybody said, we're not going to buy everybody's oil, Russia said, hey, India, you want a discount? And they said, yeah. Right? So it's not hurting them as much as.
Well, since we own this, we'll get back to the victory conditions of each one. What is people seem to be confused. What is China's aspect in all this? Are they just tell me what you think about like China's relationship with Russia throughout all this? Because some people say they're allies and some people say China and Russia are not. What is your thoughts on China's aspect?
I know, I'll be honest with you. I know a lot about China. I've spent most of my academic career studying China. I know a lot about China. I just learned most of this about Russia in the last 6 or 9 months, just on some other stuff, doing some projects for school and things of that nature. Okay, China's got some serious issues going on right now. So it's got some serious internal issues that it's trying to figure out, and it doesn't know what to do. And it also has some gang shit going on. This has got something to do with the lockdowns in the current lockdowns in Shanghai. I think that's where it's locked down. There's there's political aspects. Okay, put it this way. You know how in America politicians, they'll say something silly, and then they'll take it to the mat, and then after they say something silly, their constituents will keep going sillier and sillier, farther to the left or farther to the right, and then before you know it, the politicians are stuck with these off-the-wall lines that they don't even agree with, but they've got to have it, because that's the party line now. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
In China, this has happened with COVID, where it's absolutely unacceptable. They went so far crazy with trying to control COVID that no cases are acceptable. And so they're locking everything down in these rolling lockdowns that are just on a political cycle that can't be stopped. And they don't know, it's a problem.
So they have so many problems that they really can't get involved in this conflict.
They could. China is, okay, put it this way. China is Russia's closest ally, right? Well, about 4 or 5 years ago, China, I forget exactly which one, I'm thinking maybe the Su-35, which is a Russian fighter jet, a 5th generation Russian fighter jet, high up there, right? About 5 years ago, China comes out with this jet, and the Russians are like, that's our jet, dog. You just painted it different. I swear to God, it's the exact same jet. So that's their homies. They steal like that from their homies. So you see? So the relationship's not always what they say it is. Maybe it's not as good as they say it is, right?
Right.
So it's a relationship of convenience. China's gonna do whatever is necessary to make sure that the Chinese Communist Party stays in power. And if they think that's back in Russia, they're going to back Russia. But right now, back in Russia is a toxic situation, and there's not much to be gained from it because they're already geostrategic bedfellows. They've already got to back each other up, right? Because nobody else is strong enough to really back them up or come help them. So they're in it together anyway. So there's not really anything to gain from putting their neck out there for Russia too much. That's what I would say.
So, yeah, I see what you said. So China is not willing to sacrifice themselves to rescue Russia. If things go bad, they're going to leave Russia out to dry.
I don't know. They might, but if they think that that's their only option, they may step up. I think this is going to be a proxy war, though. I don't know that it's going to go to hot war, but I didn't think it was going to go like this either. So I was wrong about this. I thought they were just going to take the Donbass.
Yeah, that's what I believe too. I believe this is just a proxy war. The West is definitely propping up Ukraine, and they're like, take this and fight. And but real quick, because we only got 8 minutes to go. So victory condition, best case scenario for Ukraine. What do you see happen?
Best case scenario?
Best case scenario.
Russia needs to. The best case scenario is that Russia would withdraw. If not, it's just going to keep being. It's just going to keep being bloody. They can't. They don't have the weaponry to kick them out. They don't. It's just not there. They're making rumblings. The U.S. is making rumblings that they're sending things now. Like they're sending heavy weaponry, but they're not being super specific about what they're sending, and it's not. They just don't have they don't have it. What are they going to do? I don't know what the. I don't see how they win. I mean, I hate to say it. I don't know. They can push them back and say they're going to lose the Donbass. If I'm going to let's just make a prediction. Let's just not be wishy-washy. They're going to lose it.
Right.
I think they're going to lose the Donbass. I think they keep Odessa.
Mm.
I don't okay, because there's a difference between taking the Donbass and creating a land bridge through Crimea. There's a difference from that and leaving Odessa, because if you leave Odessa, think about it like they say, don't back a rat into the corner, and not leave him a way out. Because if they don't leave Odessa, they're not leaving a port. If they completely landlock Ukraine, Ukraine's not going to go for that. They're going to fight to the mat. They're going to go to the mat. Honestly, they've gone to the mat over piles of rubble so far. So, you know what I mean? They really have. Yeah. They really have. They're still fighting in Mariupol. I don't know. They said they're bombing them again, but they're still fighting. It's like it's nothing. There's nothing left. Everything's destroyed and they're still fighting. You got to respect it. But they just don't have the ability to push the Russians back. I don't know.
In your opinion, before do you think the Russians will stop? I mean, do you think the Russians are fully committed to this, or will it get to a point where they say it's more costly than worth it? What is your thought?
I hope that they do, but the Russian power brokers who are actually in charge of everything, the Soloviki, is they're not hurting. And their power, you know how over here in America, you know, Nancy Pelosi's power comes from her ability to turn screws on you. You know what I mean? But not really. She couldn't really, like, maybe she could send the cops to come harass you, because she can't really send people after you. Russian power brokers, it's a different type of power. You know what I mean? Right. They command armies, people, the Soloviki, the Russian elite, the oligarchs that actually command power. They're not hurting from any of this.
So they can keep it going as long as they want.
Not as long as they want. This is gonna, I don't know, this is gonna come to a head. Honestly, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if this happens till a republic. I hate to say this, till a Republican gets back in power, or another president gets in power, and then he just, I mean, he got along great with Trump. I don't know. I hate to say that they're doing it. They're doing it because of Biden, man. You can see it. You know?
I believe that too.
They're taking advantage of him.
Yeah.
You know, and it's sad. It's sad. But these dudes are playing for keeps, man.
Right.
They really are. They really are. The Russian doctrine says they have to keep pushing. They have to keep pushing through you. They have to. Russian military doctrine states that they need to take about half of Ukraine. They basically need to take the Dnieper River. That needs to be the border. That's actually the border of ancient Russia. Quiet as it's kept, a lot of these cities that are in Ukraine now used to be Russian.
Right.
And then they used to be Ukrainian, and they used to be Russian. And then Kiev used to be the capital of Russia. Kiev and Rus was the capital of Russia. Sevastopol is an ancient Russian port. And it goes back and forth. And these are ancient tribes. And sometimes one wins and sometimes the other wins. They just got modern weapons now.
Right. Well, look, we're gonna get out of here, guys. We're gonna have him back on again. We got a lot. It's so much we could talk about. Taiwan. We got more stuff to talk about, but we're gonna get out here. This is the Coach Prunty Podcast, and we out. Peace. Make sure you check out his channel. What's your channel name again?
Rocky Mountain Oyster Sauce. Check me out.
Rocky Mountain Oysters. He's gonna put his name down in the comments too, so you'll be able to go right to it. But anyway, we're gonna get out of here. Peace.